Hi everyone and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, and the topic for the day is called Sky Shift. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening March 22nd through April 1st, 2022, and this is show number 149. I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks and welcome to all of you for being here, whether you are new or returning to this channel. This is going to be a bit of another atypical situation, this show. Just because there's been a lot in my outer world that is really kind of upended over the last 2 months. And so I'm going to be showing fewer slides. I wasn't able to document the skies faithfully as I'd like every day. But I nonetheless observed some very strange things happening in the skies over North Florida and in Miami, Florida. So we'll get into that, and this show is kind of have maybe a little bit of an identity crisis. It kind of matches the shift I'm feeling over these last 2 months. I'm not sure if you are as well. But definitely something is up, let's just say, and I don't mean the skies. I'm just noticing very odd undercurrents and energies, dealing with people who are exiting the planet in many different ways, shifting off the planet. And I think that's all in anticipation of more shifts to come with energies. And some people will be willing, want to be here for that. And other people, I believe, are holding energies that aren't really kind of symbiotic with that, or not really compatible frequency, and they may decide to shift off the planet a little bit early. But either way, let's move forward. Just know this isn't a typical show. As always, I just let the spirit kind of guide me and move me of what I'm going to include. I'm not going to do the greetings from around the world page today. I will cover some different things though, so let's just jump into it. And if you are new, I invite you to look at some of my previous shows just to see what this channel usually is about. I would say go back a couple shows just to get into more of what a more typical rhythm of it might be. Not feeling like all gung-ho and let's do this thing with this show today, just for obvious reasons and due to these shifts and things happening with people I care about. And so bear with me on this one, and by the next show I should be in a better rhythm and stride. So here we go. This is the cover I selected for this time around. As always, just for fun, I like to see what other people might choose as the cover, whether slides as you see in the show. But this one really stood out to me because this was over the skies in North Florida, and just this object is not only kind of on its own, doing its own thing, and you'll see a little more of the context as we get into the show. I zoom out and show you a little bit more about the sky in relationship with the land too, to see what's going on here in the scale. But not only is this an oddball out, on an angle, but it has like a trail. Looks almost like it's coming out of a hole or a portal, perhaps. Or this is just flying and doing its own thing as something else down here is emerging or being kind of cloaked in the clouds. You can see a very strong corner here. And so I kind of am leaning toward these are just two independent objects with also something else happening over here, so a potential third. Very bizarre, very interesting at the same time. So let's get into the show. And as we do, give me one moment, please. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to take a little side trip here. I normally don't do things like this quite exactly, but I felt this is important. I've installed some of these on a lot of different homes of friends and family, and it's just making a very simple Faraday cage very easily. I'm saying for under $20 USD, United States dollars, but really you can even do it under $8 or so if you already have some of these basic tools in your household. Now, why I'm building a Faraday cage to put over, it's to shield a smart meter, the awful radiation effects coming off of it. And that is if you cannot keep your analog unit instead. So step one is keep your analog unit, if at all possible. Don't let the electrical company come and install these things, pretty much for many reasons. Not only because it's kicking out a lot of radiation off of here, which can be very harmful, especially when it goes through periodic boosts, when it connects and links up with other neighborhood meters. There's a stronger charge coming out of this thing. And but there are also other reasons, let's just say, due to, let's just say, like satellite warfare. Things can lock on to internal antennas or triggers here, and it's easy to lock on target on these things. I'll just have to leave it for there for now. maybe I can get in more detail with that in other shows. Anyhow, for right now, the key aim is just to stop these radiation field, from coming off this thing, off the glass. And especially if you pass by this thing as you're gardening outside, or if this thing happens to, actually even be on a neighbor's house and it's sitting right across from your window. A lot of people are getting ill from transmissions coming off of these things. So if that's the case, then you have a good rapport with your neighbor. You might want to just say, hey, I'll be happy to show you how to put one of these on your meter. Let's do this together. Once you buy the basic screen material, pretty much this ring, this duct or hose clamp just costs maybe $3 United States dollars. You can even offer, if you have it, just say, hey, I'll be happy to kick in the money for this if you wouldn't mind shielding your meter. And obviously when you shield your own, you're protecting not only your own surrounds, but the neighbors that might be affected. If you can see it, you can get the transmission basically. So anyway, all that to say, you just need some very basic materials to install this, and no worries, it's not going to affect the reading of the meter. The company shouldn't come out and even bother you whatsoever. Now, if an electrical company would come out and say, hey, we don't want this on there, then I'd say, fine. I'll be happy to replace it once you bring, a certified, shielded, shield of some type to replace it with, and we can do that together. Otherwise, this is staying on. It's not affecting your reading. Anyhow, all that to say, protect yourself and don't worry about it. So I do just list the materials here, scissors, tin foil, duct tape, or you can use some I think like air conditioning tape or some kind of aluminum tape, depending on what climate you're in and where this thing is exactly. A screwdriver, adjustable stainless steel duct or hose clamp is this thing here, about 6 inches. Again, you got to see what your specific meter measures out at, but obviously you need just the hose clamp or duct clamp to be a little bit bigger, so you can just screw it down, tighten it up with a Phillips or slotted head screwdriver, depending on what the clamp head has on it, screw head has on it. So anyway, also, sorry, then you need the aluminum mesh screen, and it has to be the metallic, the aluminum type. I know there's some other black kind of fiber, maybe like polyethylene or some kind of compound of stuff that's more of like a plastic type. You really do need the aluminum metal mesh. And it's kind of the type that's used for exterior patio screening, at least in the United States. So the instructions are fairly simple. I don't have a side view. I probably should have included that, but I think you'll get the gist. So all you do is take the tin foil. I don't have the roll here, but I think everyone knows what a roll of tin foil looks like. This material on a roll, like a paper towel roll. So you take some tin foil, get a healthy, bit of it going, and you can run it one of two ways. I just started here coming over the face of this glass cylinder first, and then kind of mounting it around the rim, and then just getting a good healthy piece. So all of this is covered in like one continuous layer, just kind of built up and scrunched up, not torn, not ripped, no gaps anywhere. And then I worked it like a flange till you get to the base of the plate beyond it. And then I just taped it up with some duct tape, and again, no gaps, no leaks, nothing. Just tape it up nice. Now, then you take the mesh screen and you kind of size up a piece, take a big square, cut one off, and kind of size it up and center it over the face of this thing. And then you just kind of work it and fold it and mold it to, go over this cylinder, this face of the meter, and you keep working it back. Now, you're going to have excess all around. Don't worry about that. You can trim it neatly later with the scissors. So you just kind of center it and hold it over in place. Oh, before you do that, though, sorry, take a step back before you put the mesh over here and you're just dealing with the tin foil. You might want to just grab a band of this duct tape and go all the way around the perimeter of this thing, like in side view, just come all the way around, so that when you now come over with your mesh, you're going to come over on top of that with the hose or duct clamp, and that extra band just helps kind of keep things situated, and when you tighten that clamp, it won't like tear your, it just works as a nice little base to set the clamp on so it won't tear the tin foil. That's optional, however. So I think I kind of already went through everything. I don't think I need to read this through, but if you want to read this as a backup, it's a very simple process. It didn't even take 5 or 10 minutes to do this once you have your supplies. Very easy. Once again, you just kind of mold the tin foil over, move it back toward the back metal plate, make sure there are no gaps, just seal it off, tape it down. then bring a band of the duct tape around here, and then center your mesh over it, push it down, and then, kind of cover the face of it, spread it back. Don't worry about the edges splaying all over the place of the screen. And then you bring your duct clamp over the face of this thing, tighten a little screw here on the top, and you're done. And then just trim around the mesh however you want, whatever length or shape you want around here. And that's just a very quick and easy, obviously a little more sloppy version. Some people make very neat constructed cages, that look very crisp and clean. To me, this doesn't need to win any awards on appearance. We just get the job done very simply, and it's very easy to take all of this off as well. So pick how you want to do it. I just felt it was important to bring this up. Now, does this mean to be terrified of the radiation coming off of this thing? No. But if you can do something to prevent it, why wouldn't you, is my question. And even if it wouldn't work, although it does, then the question here is, well, at least you're, not the question, but it's all a matter of putting your intention out there that I don't want these harmful rays affecting me, my plants, other neighbors, wildlife, whatever. And the intention is everything as well. So I just felt it was important to include this time around. So if you're not familiar with this, you may want to play around with it and do some installing of this on your own, and have fun doing it if you do it. All right, now I just want to bring some attention to check out these channels and podcasts and specific shows. Came into some extraordinary knowledge lately. First of all, I just want to say there is a thing called ascension symptoms. If you are on a spiritual journey, especially, you may have already noticed some of this. Something's going on with the body. There are a lot of shifts and changes and energies on the body. That means that some people aren't as hungry anymore. You might notice that you're just gravitating toward a more liquid-based diet. You don't really care about the foods you used to love anymore. You really don't. And you don't even really have hunger pangs anymore. At least that's what happened with me, and I know with many other people. It's just a natural thing saying that the body is getting in gear to shift off all of the heavier foods, especially the processed foods, anything that's kind of blocking a good flow and connection with the greater spirit and with a higher and lighter frequency. So in this process, we are kind of like in a push and pull of having some great cosmic energies coming in to help assist us get lighter toward ascension as the goal. Moving from a 3D situation on Earth toward a 5D and higher. And so in this kind of grand shift, and again, it kind of harkened back to the title of the show, that means that our physical 3D bodies, as we go through all of these changes, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel some things. So there are a whole range of symptoms that can start happening to you, and you'll swear there's something wrong. You may even go to a hospital or an emergency room, and then they work you up. Can be over like 9-10 hours, and they say, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Don't worry about that. That just means you had some ascension symptoms working on your body. So, as always, you know your body the best, more than anyone. If something feels really off, it can't hurt to go get it checked out by somebody, medical professional, if you wish. But just keep in mind, if you come back and they have like zero cause, they don't see anything, that can very well be that you're just having some ascension symptoms. Now, I got struck, it's very atypical for me, but with a really heavy dose of something blasting me over a week ago. And it hit me in the knees. So, like, I never, ever have knee aches and pains, ever. And all of a sudden, my knees hurt so bad for several days straight. So finally, I did a search on YouTube, and I just looked up ascension symptoms. Is anybody having knee aches and pains? And I found this incredible site. I highly recommend you go check it out. It's called Remembrance Into the Light with Nicola Russell. Now, she does light language, which is something very specific. If you're not familiar with it, I invite you to go check it out. Have an open mind. And so she communicates, kind of gets downloads and communication, both ways with, we can just say other beings, other races, ET realm or higher realm of some type, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, I invite you to go check this out, because that communication deals with light. And what is light? It's energy. So on this particular YouTube video, I did this along with her. She had one after this too, telling you how to treat it. She explains what could be causing it relative to ascension. And then the following video that, one of the following videos she does, tells you, actually shows you an exercise to do with her to try to get rid of it. So I actually did follow, her recommended remedy for it. And I'll tell you what, all you have to do is have an open mind and believe absolutely it can work, and that that's the cause, which I did. I knew that was the cause. Ascension symptoms was what was going on with my knees. And so knowing that, I was all in on getting it remedied, and to my absolute joy, after doing the exercise with her, along with her in the video, it instantaneously removed the pain out of my knees. I have no more aches and pains in the knees. So all that to say, this is absolutely an energetic thing. And I recommend, if you're having any issues, take a good look at her site, her channel, and keep an open mind and try some of these things out. You might be able to heal yourself. Imagine that. Now, another one I recommend is the Harmonic Reactor with Marina Jacobi. And it's self-explanatory once you get into some of her videos to see what she's talking about in detail. Now, I do want to thank somebody out there, if they ever happen to see my channel. Somebody commented on one of her videos, and I'm eternally grateful to that person, infinitely grateful, because they mentioned this name, Ashayana Deane. And once I got into here, I think if you even found my channel, you will know this is no accident. If you don't know about this knowledge, this is the deepest jumping in of any kind of, how do I even word this? It's like so indescribable. She goes into our galactic origins, and how all of that, ties in from ancient history, going hundreds of millions of years back and beyond, through today, and what's going on with our planet relative to the galaxy, and the spiritual war going on, and ascension, and this just, I really cannot stand the phrase, it blew my mind, because I picture an actual mind blowing up, but it did. I'm speechless. So the level of this information, it just grabs you. So you can find some interviews. There's an interview with Carrie Cassidy, which is really excellent. They're 3 parts, and with her. So I just recommend that you go online, search where you can still find this information on YouTube videos or PDFs, anything that you can gather up, get it, copy it, read it, do whatever you can. So she wrote, there's a series called The Voyagers. This one is Volume 2, The Secrets of a Mentee. There's a Volume 1, which is about sleeping abductees. Very interesting. So I'm just getting into these, but what I've already seen just on these interviews alone, everybody should at least watch it with an open mind and see what really clicks with you. Everything she has said completely resonates with me, makes total sense about our origins on this earth, our history, and what's going on now and where we're headed. So have fun with that if you go and take the time to get in there and really dig in and see what that's all about. All right, well, now let's get into the sky observations portion of the show. And I'm not going to get into too much detail. I think today I'm just going to I do always drop in the letters to kind of highlight where I'm going with things or make sure I don't miss key points. And I'm just going to keep this show pretty brief as much as I can for this part of the show. Again, when I bounce back and come back for the next one, we'll kind of get back into our other kind of way of doing things more than likely. All right, well, anyway, this is in North Florida. We are looking south-southwest. Hang on one more second, though. Okay, I'm back. And this happened to be really in the wee hours of the morning, and something just said, hey, look out this window. So this is the moon up here where my cursor is toward A, but there were these, looked like chemtrails, very specifically at B, chemical field trails. Something really weird going on here too, a lot of electromagnetic wave activity. These bands are doing something very specific in this kind of a shape. So I suspected a layering upon layering of things, especially when you put in B. To me, that's looking like cloak and craft activity, probably up in here too, with some man-made or otherwise made artificial trails moving in here to kind of, again, create the smoke and mirrors so we don't really see what's going on. And on top of it, it's no coincidence that the quote-unquote moon activity is in this little, triangular configuration of stuff trying to mask it out. So we go to the right with the enhanced version, and for anyone who's new, enhanced simply means I take the original photo and I edit attributes of it, such as color, saturation, brightness, and contrast, and that is it. I just up or lower the levels a little bit to bring out specific features, better highlight things that are really going on in the skies, and that's much more easily achievable because with the digital technology, the camera phones, they have a greater range of photo and light sensitivity, so we're able to see more when we just use, little tools like this to modify the levels a bit to really pull out and see what's going on sometimes. So when I've done this in this photo, we get things like different color signatures that pop up in different places. What's notable is where they pop up and also where they do not. So we get like a reddish activity, pink activity here. Also, I invite you to look at the description box below to see what could be causing the red-pink color signatures in the sky these days. But here, once we've got the contrast going, we really see some strange movement, not typical for a normal cloud system. This also would not happen like this in a normal cloud system. This is very specific. Also, B1 has a real sharp edge to it, while this one has dissipated quite a bit. And then we've got strange activity happening down here at B.1. So this looks like a separate object. This is straight on angle. This is parallel to it. Everything's at a different angle to each other, so we know that's not a natural cloud system. No way. We've got a strong edge here with a shadow on it here too. So to me, this is some type of cloak and craft happening in here. And again, if you're new to the show, please look up under my any numerous shows to see why I'm calling that cloak and craft, and I think you'll start to see it too. All right, we're going to zoom in. Actually, I'm going to step back a minute. We're going to zoom in on this B.1 area. And now we go to B.2. And I've really exaggerated some of the color saturation and all this just to really bring out the features and just show notable differences. And look in here. So we've got a straight line, another parallel line here. Definitely that has intelligence to it. And there'll be more clear examples, as I always say in some other shows. Clear examples coming up in the show as well. But this was notable enough for me to flag it. Also, like I say in all of my shows, I'm just narrating this on a laptop screen on a computer, so it's a bigger format. If I chose to narrate this on a smaller, like thumbnail size or scale of images, I would probably be narrating a totally different show. Like I always say, if you're fortunate enough to have a bigger screen and a smaller screen sitting in front of you as you play the show, and then you just look up from one to the other, toggle your view back up and forth, up and down a bit, you'll start to pick out totally different things happening in any given scene based on your perspective of looking at the scale of these things, big to small. So just keeping that in mind as I go through these. Also, I'm not going to always get everything super clean. So in this case, obviously, it's not original photo. Just nix that out. This one's an enhanced version. Okay, now we're looking in a parking lot. I'm out and about in North Florida, and this is looking west, and I believe it was west. Pretty sure it was west. And sorry, I think it was more southwest. But anyway, I started to see these bands coming through. Now, they didn't look like typical chemtrails or chemical trails sprayed by planes. They're really odd. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the scene, but I know that's absolutely not natural in normal skies as far as cloud systems. We got something weird happening down here too, the way this is kind of fizzling out, the movement of it. So I suspected some cloak and craft activity going on in here, and with enhancement we really see it via the color signatures. So we know we've got some kind of objects in here, especially when we get to D.1. I'm going to zoom in. We start to see structure. That's a very clear angle. Then we have stuff dropping down here and fizzling away. It almost looks like there's some kind of battle going on, and we're just seeing some streaks and things and evidences of things like trying to target each other, perhaps. But see what you think. Clearly, though, that's not a natural sky. And then we're going to zoom in on that area. So here we've got that angle, very clear angular form, maybe even overall like wing-like thing. Something very strange happening here as well. But as always, explore this when you have a little more time on your own, see what you think is going on. What also is really curious here is look at where this color signature, kind of flares up, and a red-orange where the rest of the trail doesn't have that. Why? What's going on in that particular area that's not happening here and here is another interesting question. So I think there's so much veiling going on in this sky, so much particulate caused by many different sources that we can't get a good grasp on what exactly is going on here. But to me, it seems like there might be a very interesting battle going on with some type of craft. Okay, then we're going to look and, change our view in a different direction. And we've got the quote-unquote sun, which really isn't looking or behaving like any natural or true sun. It's very white. It's a weird shape. Kindly look at any of my previous shows that talk about the sun and quotes and what's going on with that these days. Think solar simulator, think artificial sun, and solar tech up there to obscure what's going on with our sun beyond it. But look at this. What the heck is going on here at A, B, and C? We also have movement crossing right across it, which wouldn't normally happen. And look over here. I didn't even catch this before. This looks like we've got like a delta form, what do I want to say? Not a vector, but like a V, with a body in the middle. To me, this is almost like a craft in its own right, cutting across here. And again, why do we have this coming down the way it is? It's just really, really strange. Once again, look at the color signatures. What the heck is going on in this scene? As I always say, I would love to see these skies without any of the quote-unquote smoke and mirrors to see what's really going on. Maybe that day is coming for all of us that we can really see it. Now, this is looking up to the south later in the day. I just noticed this really strange kind of ring-like form starting when I looked straight up in the sky. There's also kind of like a trail coming down, like this thing is diving down. We look to the right with some enhancement. It doesn't really get any clearer. I think I have more questions than answers. But clearly this looks like something intelligent forming, or just, coming into our dimension, or just revealing itself through whatever this particulate is. See what you think on that one. I'm zooming in and just kind of changing the temperature and the color on this thing just to try to look at it in a new way. Clearly something is going on here that's organized. We've got straight lines here with a very straight edge, here too going in a different direction. This is not quite perpendicular but close, and you don't get those kinds of forms in the natural sky. This comes down to a point. We've got some mass to this thing where it's really, really dark. If you have any good ideas on what's going on there, let me know. That one's really stumped me for now. Speaking of stumpers, I think this might be part of the same thing I had noticed in the sky, or maybe this part of it down here. But now I'm traveling around town in North Florida, and I'm getting a look at it as I'm looking out my window, because it really, really caught my attention when I was in the previous location. So now this is the original, and to the right is the enhanced version. We'll just spend our time over on the enhanced side. But look at this. What the heck? We have like a body, a very specific shape, mind you, with nothing else like it around it. And then we have this weird kind of configuration coming down, trailing down behind it. And then we've got like this notch out, or something kind of maybe a more solid thing emerging. Something going on angle this way. Weird little things were happening all over the sky. It really wasn't just in this area, but it's all that I could get a photo of as the car was moving. Very, very bizarre. And to me, there's no question that that's a cloaking craft. And in fact, that's why I put this on the cover. So look at this thing. Again, we've got something with kind of concentric arcs, happening here, spaced equally apart. And then it totally changes into whatever this is. And again, as I said at the very beginning, I thought maybe that's a portal and this thing's flying out of it. But on the other hand, this looks like a solid, triangular object coming up. And again, I'm going to call it a craft. Then we got this piece doing its own thing. Just this is really mystifying, very fascinating, and I hope you agree. All right, then this is going back to looking, let's see, east-southeast in the morning. And just weird things are happening in the sky. We've got strange patterning happening all over the place. There's nothing typical about this, where we have these things kind of radially linear things, and then things kind of moving across in a totally different direction. When we look to the right, we see the enhanced version. We see the color signature is red-pink again. And again, do look at the description box below to see what could be causing that. It's also very choppy and fuzzy, and I call that the staccato cloud effect, or just staccato clouds. And to me that means there is either one larger or multiple craft up here being camouflaged, and they're creating disturbances in the local atmosphere just by the very, very mechanics of how the ships may operate, or giving off heat, just inherent to the function of the craft. or they're deliberately sending out like mixer signals to disrupt, the local atmosphere so you can't see the cloaking craft. One or the other, because this just isn't natural in our skies, and yet it's coming up time and time again, and also in conjunction with more visible evidence of a craft. Now in this case, I'm starting to see an emerging like downturned triangular form. If you follow my cursor, this even looks like maybe a back end of something. It's symmetrical, heading down this way. There's like a more clear shape emerging. But then again, this could just be a smaller piece of something much, much bigger up here. I'm starting to see little things poke through that convinces me that we're dealing with cloaking craft, just given all the things I've been finding over the last couple of years. But have a look at this on your own and see if you find anything interesting, when you have a little more time on your own. All right, now we're going to be looking west in another area of Miami. And I was up in a high-rise building just looking out. So you're going to see a little bit of reflection. So I'm not saying that's anything. That's lighting happening behind me. And, I made sure I looked out into the scene here and then behind me to see where the reflections were coming in. So I'm keeping that in mind when I talk about these. But for now, let's just say this is not a natural-looking cloud. And then when you looked at the other ones next to it, they just were all screaming artificial or some type of cloaking activity going on, because normal clouds in this area of the world just don't drift like this. We even look like something exited out of there. This looks like an object that maybe exited out of being cloaked in here and is moving over this way to dock with something over here. That's what I see, at least. There's a lot of strange stuff going on in this overall assembly. Even the way it's kind of like got a seam, like a jigsaw piece effect. It's just not normal with clouds. That's all I'm going to say for now, because like I said, some of these are more, have more direct evidence than others of what's going on. So again, this is a light reflection up here of a ceiling light, so we're not going to count that, as anything odd going on. But again, look, we got letter A, a clear triangular cloud. That's not typical. Then over here we have a pure sphere. There's just enough going on in here that's saying what the heck is going on. And so with some enhancement, we see like here's an outer tracing. We have a void of a shape here happening. So I'm going to say that's a cloaking craft. It's not always just a solid shape like a clear giveaway with 8.1. That's a triangular form. That's no natural shape cloud. I'm saying that's a cloaking craft. But at the same time, sometimes the void of something is very telling as well. So I see symmetry happening here on this like sky imprint. So to me, I'm convinced there's enough oddness going on in here to say that we're dealing with a whole bunch of little isolated cloaking craft kind of traveling together, kind of trying to fly under the radar. But, I'm elevated up several floors up and just see this very clearly. And then here's a, another triangular form. So again, that doesn't form in natural cloud systems. At least it never used to. Now we're going to look to the west, and here's what I'm going to call the quote-unquote sun. Again, look at the concept of solar simulator and all the patents pulled for it in the 60s and earlier. We've got this really strange cloud shape, so let's just jump over to the right-hand side to the enhanced version. And we've got, again, what kind of cloud does this? None that I know of, and then it just kind of disintegrates, and we've got something going off at a different angle. That's not natural cloud activity. Then we've got what's supposed to be the sun, which is, pure white and fixed, and yet everything around has some kind of glow. And these quote-unquote clouds or other types of things are projecting in weird ways relative to it. I don't know. This one maybe not be as clear as some of the other things that I find, but it just struck me as odd, so I included it. All right, now we're still looking west, and up here is where you really want to pay attention to A. So again, I'm looking through glass, and I'm noting, they're little scratches or pieces of dirt, whatever, but this is not at A. This is the lens flare right here where my cursor is. So we're going to take a look at this with enhancement. Now, as I said, some of this may just be reflection from dirt on the glass. However, A.1 is not. A.1 is this hidden object that we're starting to see. The solar simulator flares up this quote-unquote sun that can project the light so that it fills up the whole sky to cover something like this, or they can shrink it down to a pinhole. And that's how you know we're not dealing with our authentic true sun. Again, see other, previous shows for that. And this isn't just, artifact from digital effects and what have you. Some of this stuff is, but not this, because I could also see it with the naked eye. And so we're dealing with a red object, this red-pink sphere. Now, I've talked about this on my previous show. I caught it even more clearly and not through glass, just with the naked eye out in the open air. And also, if you go to the YouTube channel, The Final Days, again, I send people over there not for the religious content. If it is for you, great. It is not for me, not my belief. However, she documents everything and explains it so clearly what's going on with these planetary bodies coming into our atmosphere, or at least, really close to the Earth's neighborhood. And now, they've been so veiled for so long. And now she's finding on aviation cameras in North America clear examples where, people are kind of, quote unquote, not to be punny, but dropping the ball, and allowing some of this to be seen more and more clearly. So take a look over at that. Her channel used to be called Universal News Media. Now it's The Final Days. All right, so I'm just zooming in one more time because this is lens flare right here. This is what's supposed to be the sun, and this is clearly some other object that this is trying to obscure. All right, one more time, just zoom in a bit. It's really, really odd. All right, now we're going to look to the southeast, speaking of really, really odd, and this just seemed to have, doing its own thing. Nothing else was like this in the sky. So we look to the right-hand side for the enhanced version, and I see a clear cutout of a pure triangular form, equilateral triangle, this dark black one, nestled in whatever activity is going on here. Now again, look at the hard edges, look at this movement. This is not a natural cloud. So I'm going to venture to say that there's some type of cloak and craft here, or something that's emerging into our dimension from somewhere else, or starting to form, just kind of giving up some of its cloaking bearings, whatever you want to say. But that's not natural cloud activity. See what you think it is, though. And we're going to zoom in one more time so you can see that triangular cutout, so to speak. And there just seems to be a lot of hard edges and shadows. So just tell me there is more than meets the eye. And look at this clear curve happening. Very sharp line. That doesn't happen in a natural cloud system. It's very fascinating. See what you think is going on here. All right, now this is looking to the north. And this was, again, odd man out. Just looked really strange. I'm not going to bother to zoom in, but look at the character of what is, quote unquote, the cloud system. And then this is just floating really low, and oddly so, just so out of place, like in the middle of nowhere, doing its own thing. So to me, this again is some type of cloak and craft, even the way it's kind of got a little banked up tail to it. That wouldn't be any kind of natural cloud that we've known in this area for decades past. This is tropical, subtropical, Miami, Florida, by the way, and that is not a typical cloud for this area. All right, now we're going to look north once again, and we just see there looks like a huge swath cut out here. So one straight angle coming down this way, another coming down this way, with a whole bunch of other stuff happening in between. We get kind of an elliptical form in the negative happening here, like an imprint. We have like what looks like a chemtrail coming across, just to kind of try to, be a red herring to take your attention away from what the bigger picture is here. We also have something coming down fairly vertical. And it's just so odd, all of this. It makes no sense. So if this is kind of sitting at the epicenter of these angles, it just highly suggests something's cloaking down here. And it's insanely low in the sky. So we're going to look at it with some enhancement. And here we can just see a little bit more of the character of whatever is going on over on this side. We lose what's going on here just the way that I played around with the enhancement on it. But then we start to see other things emerge, like arc-like patterning. What's going on over here? There's a lot of questions here. So this is another one where I invite you to take a look on it when you have a little more time on your own. All right, well, this is the photo of the week in the close of the show. I want to say thanks for looking at some unbelievable things here a while. And speaking of that, I saw this very fun decal on a car in North Florida, and it says, I believe, and obviously it's the Sasquatch. So it just brings up the question, what do you believe and what do you know? And what do you think you know? And if you think you know something, well, it's time to think again these days, to really feel it out from the heart space and from your gut level instincts. What are you looking at? And, just believe the unbelievable, because we are entering in a new time, a new age. There's a shifting of dimensions, of energies, of so many things going on right now that we never experienced before, over decades in the past. And so we've got to really keep an open mind. You don't have to, but it's a really good idea to, so you don't miss some real miracles going on right now. And also we're going into a time of waking up and remembering some things. So many really wild things, especially if you start to wake up and remember some things with the galaxy or galactic origins, or there's so much going on. Again, I invite you to go look at that Ashayana Deane, any of her information, especially on YouTube, her videos, just to really get excited about so much detail of what our real history might be, galactic history and Earth history. All right, well, I'm going to close on that for now. I wish everybody tremendous peace and love and just excitement at no matter what you're going through or growing through right now. If things just seem just really kind of, I don't know, there's just an indescribable thing going on right now with the energies in the world. So just know you're not alone. If you're kind of feeling displaced or where are all the people? Where are any friends? What's going on with my family? How come nobody seems to be on the same page? If that's happening to you, just know that there seems to be at least one of those in every family group. And if you're that one, it feels pretty darn lonely. But just know that if you add up all of those ones and all of the families, you would see that there's a tremendous number of people going through this. And so, no, you are not alone, not at all. Anyway, and if you're not experiencing that or really not even noticing any shifts, hey, good for you. They say ignorance is bliss. There's a lot of truth there. So anyway, big blessings, love and hugs to everyone. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.